Hello everyone. In the last video of Ruby learning, we have seen so far number of things. For example, we have defined how to declare a variable, how to print some value. We have also seen some of the mathematical problem like how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We have also seen different types of variable available in Ruby. Um, so and also we have seen some of the naming convention as well in Ruby as well. So for example, this is a global variable. We also have seen methods in Ruby, um, as well how to pass a parameter in a method. We have also seen a times equal method, something which available, which we have seen. And we have also seen some of the bank methods which we call. In this video we're gonna try to continue where we last finish, so let's get started. So we finished in the last video on the name Ruby names. We was using this RubyLearning.com, which is very I believe this which was very useful, and we finish up in here where we mention of the how to put some of the details and something on a loop. So for example, if we declare something like this, we can print this same thing like in 5 time. For this video we gonna remove everything from the first video. Let's do here, and we can run ruby app.rb. So we have this 5 time of printing of this. So to explain this is Ruby, how Ruby works is like here 5 is a number which is actually object in Ruby. So in runtime it will convert this into a object of a variable which will gonna be a 5 as a number, which gonna time 5 time, and this takes a block. This time method takes a block which if we puts mice, it will gonna print mice 5 time. And we also have this length method. So in string we have this. If we declare a string and we have a length, this will give us the length of the string. We can also do that. Okay, let me put we can use some string manipulation, so that way you can get the length also. So it's 22. Let's go on to the more method on the next chapter. So self is one of method in Ruby. This is very easy to understand. So for example, if we puts self here, and this will behave very differently when you put it under a block. So this is under a main method, okay. But what if I put into a block? So we define a function call me, and if we put the sense self, and if we run this, if you see self, okay, sorry, we have to call this. If we run this, self instant function is also a main. However, what if it's a class? So we can define a class, right? We can say like class uh, people, and we can do everything inside this class. And then we can say now we can say people dot call me. Now if we see this self inside function is defining this as a people. So this is how we can read where the block is, and also this is very useful when we do some meta programming stuff. And always remember, we don't even this puts also, so this is referring to this object. So always remember when to use and what to use when this self method is there. More on the reading side is like here we can read more details, like what does it mean. So let's say in the top level we have a function of m which just we define, and we have a class. So just started in the class s, and we have put self. What does it declare to? And then we have a module, and we have this self here. If we run this whole thing, okay, and then we try to call this as a block, we can do let's run this first and see what it does. So initially when we call this, just started class s, and inside this put it calls self is referring to this class name s, and then we have defined a module as m. When you define the module m, nested module m, s, m, inside the self is defined to sm. Okay, and when we define this self outside of this is also defining to s, which is we have seen here. So here you are seeing object, right? If we just put self just only, we'll see that it will define the whole people object, and we can just ignore this thing. We can also do the same changes on these classes which we have made. For example, if I put self here and here, this will define as a people, of course we know. So this define as a people. So I believe this is useful. And if we have a like this is one we just now we have seen right here. If we have a function on the name, we will have something like this. So it will refer to the object and with some object reference. So in how does it work in a singleton method in the self, right? So when we define a new object, and this object when we do the show, and this will gonna print out some value like the same, and then we push the self. So this self will gonna refer to this object itself, and in this case it will become a singleton method since this is created one time, and when you printing the show, it is referring to this object always. And calling this will gonna always, if we notice that reference will be always the same reference memory object. So this how we define a singleton object. So we create the object first, and then we have this show method just for reference to show that what does it do show, and later if we do the show and then we put the object, it will always refer to the same object. We can do it in same class method as well, singleton. So we can do s.x, so we should gonna always define as a self or the class method. So in this case, this self, if we define, this will also refer to this s method. If you notice here, the class method of the s. So this is how we define a singleton in Ruby. Let's go on more interesting thing on Ruby methods. So Ruby methods is nothing but is a block of code we have just now have seen. So this is a method in Ruby. Let's not talk about this module yet. So in method, what it does is like, if we have a method of something, let's say we have method of, let's remove this all this line of code, dep Ruby method start with df and end with end, always remember. And we can pass any number of argument we have seen in the last video. Here if we just say puts hi there, and if we run this Ruby method any number of time, it will gonna print the Ruby method any number of time. We can also do 10 dot times Ruby method, so it will gonna print it. Okay, so we can print it 10 times. So I hope this is useful. And then we can pass the arguments which we have seen in the previous video. We can pass multiple arguments as well. We can pass a default value also in the argument. So this is default value, this is also default value, this is the default value in the argument. And if we don't pass any value for the first argument, it will gonna take as dbia, second Shashank, or I believe we have covered some of the things in previous video. So we can do mathematical equation also in some way. So let's say we have this value. So what it will gonna print is 100 multiplied by 5. This is all a string, and equal to, we can write inside the block. This is, you can consider is a block. We can 5 multiply 100 is 500, which is equal to 500. We can do. Then we have this old method, and okay, this is for alias. So if we have a method and we want to rename the method onto something, we can use the alias as well. So this is something, if we have a asterisk before the arguments, this will consider to be accept as an array. Array is nothing but block of list of items in a single sequence way. So if we pass this hello comma world, this will gonna first is a hello, second will gonna come as a world. So we can test it out. Let's say, so if we do that, so if we see it print a hello world. If we print this, inspect is one way to represent the whole thing. If we put a puts my string, it will gonna show the puts. So if you notice, if we don't do the inspect here, what it does is it will gonna come like this. which we can also push. So it will come like this, which also can be present up this way with the inspect. So it's similar. So here we have this method a equal to 90 and b equal to 1 plus a plus 1. So in this way, if we return, b will be 100 and a will be 99. So if we call this, yeah, so, and always remember, Ruby doesn't need a return statement. It will always return the last line of code you write in case you don't have a conditional statement. Downcase and uppercase is something we method in Ruby. So any string you can do downcase or uppercase. So let's say we have a string called let's say I love coding. You can say push dot uppercase or downcase. Let's try downcase. So this will convert everything as downcase. I believe it should be uppercase. We can test it here on the Ruby console. Let's say we have str dot methods. So we can say, what is the case available method. Downcase we have let's try it out. What is the uppercase? Comp insert by so is upcase. So it will gonna print everything in capital letter. So bang method we have seen, like if we have something where we want to say that is a boolean value is yes or no answer, which can be done in the bang method. We have covered in the last video as well. Ri and doc. So Ri is if you have a good internet, like you can look into this documentation about the Ruby documentation. However, if you want to check some of the thing, right, so I believe this is Ri is available in my code as well. So this is the text documentation for a array, so which is very useful. I believe you can write Ri, sorry, so you can say Ri. It will give you all the things you need. You can do something array sort or array hash. So let's try with array sort. What does it does? This is for reading the documentation. So what is the array sort? Give a new array, so return a new array element, those which from self sorted. With no block we can say something a equal to abcd split, then shuffle. So this will gonna shuffle the whole character. We have something like this, and if we do something a add or sort, it will return back array into new variable a1. So that will be abcd. So this is how we can read documentation also in Ri. More on string. So This is how we concat a string. This can be written in one line. Let's test it out. If you have a method like this, and if you have a method name something like this, we can pass John. Okay, push. So it's a good night John. Whatever thing we're gonna pass here, it will gonna come. But this thing can be written in shorthanded as well. What we can do is, like, we can just take this, pass this here as an argument, and we just can return the whole thing here. So this will also work because, as I mentioned, Ruby return the last line of code. So this will also work, which is a modified version of the program. So listing all methods. So string method the sort. So what it does is, if you use the Ruby method, right, usually this will gonna show you all the methods available. This is all the method available in string sort. And we have this method and instant method. Tell you the instant method that already available. So we have this comparing two string in Ruby. So if we comparing is nothing but we check if these two string are equal or not. So we have multiple option. Let's copy this whole line of code and try to understand how does it work. So for the first case, let's say we have this Jonathan and Jonathan, and s3 is a new variable which will be s1. So s1 equal to s2, then we said that if s1 and s2 is equal, then both string are identical content, which is true because we have same content, right? So both have a identical content. Second one, equal, we can use the equal also. In this case also same, if both are same, yes, then it's same. And remember, this is the bang operator we just have seen in Ruby. Then the third one, s1 equal to s2 using equal, I said no, not identical object, because equal will always check the reference also, so it is not the same. Let's say on the third one is also identical object, yes, because s1 and s3 is copying from the same object. So what we understand is Ruby always pass the same reference of the field when we assign to a new variable. Let's see on the percentage %w. So percentage %w is nothing but when we have a list of string, that will convert the thing into an array. We can see the example here. Let's see that. So here we have this name 1, and it's a list of array. Name 0 is n, because array always start from 0 index. 3 is a Susan. Same thing if we use something like this. So if we read like this, this is a block of code, right, which has a string, and if we press a W, it will remove all the white space also, and then it will convert to array. And also same thing we're gonna print it. We should add Ann and Susan, Ann and Susan. Character set. So character set is nothing but every string we write is consist of character set, now a list of. So it support 120 character ASCII character set. So hello which is a Unicode corresponding to 5 character, 5 code point, something like this. If you want to understand with details, you can read more about the ASCII character and the encoding. So we usually write in UTF-8 encoding format. If we have something in like this kinds of thing like a Greek letter or anything, we want to present in Ruby string, make sure the allocation is correct. So for example, if we have something like this, it is a 1 size of length, but byte size is 2 byte and storing is in the UTF encoding, which same thing we can define for normal character as well. So for example, let's see this example, right? In case we have this, instead of this we have this normal A and A, and if we have a smaller letter, let's see the difference. So if you see, all are storing differently. So for this is a character, it will take as a 2 byte of size, whereby in a normal character it takes 1 byte. Doesn't matter is smaller case or uppercase, still it take 1 bytes. So yeah, and another thing is all are UTF-8 character. Let's go to constructor. Okay, simple construct. So how does it work is like, let's say we have multiple condition, which condition will gonna print it out, right? For example, this one. So we have this bar equal to 5, and we say that if bar is greater than 4, then it come to this block, and this block will never get exited because 5 is greater than 4. Then we print this thing and say we bar equal to 5 is true, then we print this. So this will get never printed. And now we can, if we run this, so we see that greater than 4 first line, I am multiple second line, and the nested if possible. Yeah, nested if possible. But just always make sure if you have a if else, always finish with the n. So this is how the syntax is. So same thing we can see here as well. We can take input from the user as well, but let's not go with that. We can pass a argument when we run a file, which also works. And we have different types of loops. We have like for loops and while loops. So while loops works like this, and for loops is something different. Let's see, we have it in this page. Maybe we'll see in the future videos. So in while loops, how it works, let me explain. So we have bar equal to 0. It says that while bar is less than 10, then it prints the value and increase the value. So it goes again, bar is less than 10, yes, true. Whenever it come to 10, whenever bar become 10, it will stop looping, and then we can see the result. So only 9, so when 10 it doesn't have is false, it will end up this loop. So while always look for a false condition. If we have put this equal to 10, this while loop will gonna exit at the first loop, so it will not print anything. So if you see, it didn't print anything. This is how the while loop works. And this is one type of conditional statement. So we have a condition, we call it Strainary Condition. So we have a condition here, if it's true or false. Based on that, if is we put a we put if x equal to it's better we try it out. Okay, so how it work is this. So if let's say n equal to 10, n1, 2 equal to 11, we say that n1 equal to n2. If it is true, then we execute this result, otherwise we execute this result. So let's, for now, we make it as a string, first for the sake of understanding. Okay, we need to put a puts. So if you see, oops, I hope this work. I shouldn't, I do, I'm sure this bracket is not the issue. I believe we need to put a block of code so it understands. So if equal to n, then we put this, otherwise we do this. Or we can n3 equal to, instead of printing, we put, let's say, test to row pause push n3. This is easier. So if we do that, we know that n equal not equal, so is not true, so we know this false. What if we put 10, so it equal true, so this will return true. Yeah, let's go on the next one. So this is the range of value. So what does it do is, like, let me explain. So this value here, it create a array. We can see it from here, right? If we write it here, it will return a array. So okay, we can, how to show this value? Let's not worry about it. So what does it mean is, like, it will return a range of number between 13 to 19. If it includes is a method of a array, and then if that value is into the age, so we can put age equal to 10, and 10 is not included, so it will say not a teenager. And if we run this, is not a teenager. And if we put, let's say, 14 is a teenager. So that's how we can define a range. There is some, I believe there is some way to execute this value. Let's try it out. We can say methods, so we can say inspect, I believe. No, it doesn't. How about 2s? It will create to string, I believe. Yeah, it's a filter sum cover equal entries. How about the entries? Yeah, so entries will gonna give all the values. So yeah, sometimes if you even don't remember the exact function, you can come in the console and find the method. This will also work in the here as well. So if we have something like this, 13 12 20 dot en, and this will also work. Sorry, oops. So this will also works. So yeah, so we can also put a statement at the end. So what this will gonna do, it will print the value only if the condition is true. So we can participant is, let's say, 10, and we see that participant never print out. We said that 1000, okay, it's 2500, so and 10,000, so it will element will be now stop. We can put a case also, is a something like switch case, year equal to 2000 if case when year percentage by 4 equal to 0, then true, otherwise return a false. So what does it mean is like whenever it's a leap year, so is divisible by 400, then true, or 100 is also false, or divisible by 4 is also true. So in that case we return with from the 100, which also I believe is helpful. This is what I mentioned at the beginning of the video. In Ruby everything is an object, even nil null pointer value is also a object. You can call method on null, it's like other object. You can add method to null also, just like any other object. So in null and false evaluate as false every time else is true in Ruby. So difference between false and null is nil class is a nil class, and nil is a nil class also, and object ID is a 4, whereby if we have a false is a false class, a different class, and object ID is a 0, which is a true. And let's go into the block. So block is nothing but when you write a loop or we pass something into a function, that is also a small different kinds of block. So we have this greet method, which we can pass a block also as well. We can even pass this greet method, which we're gonna take a string value and we're gonna put the string. This is also a block. Block will always start with a begin and a end. So how it works is like we have a div method called div, and this is also a block. This is also a block of code, but in the block we write this all this thing. And what we can do is like we can write the yield. So what does it mean by yield is like we can call this block and we can pass some parameter. Whenever we write a yield inside the block, this whatever we pass as a block function, it will gonna execute it. So let's see an example how it work. So what will happen in this case, we have this start method, and we can let's say we are here at this point. If we call this method only, it will gonna stop at the place of start method. Okay, so it will say that no method block has been given. What if we put a empty something? It will say that start the method and end the method, but nothing have been there, right? We can say put something. So how it will gonna execute is like this whole thing gonna execute in this place. So if we pass, we see that in this block we're gonna print it out. So that's how the block works in Ruby. So here this become a block as per this syntax, right? So it's similar to the method, but it has a yield inside. Let's say we remove this yield, it will behave very differently. You see, it never got printed. Even if we just remove this, it will work. So this is a method now. If I have something like this become a block. So we have we can pass some parameters also in the block. So for example, this is one of a situation. We have this block here, and in the yield what we do is like we pass these two parameter, hello and 99, and here in the block we are accepting two arguments, str and number, and then we are printing out everything. So str will be this hello, and 99 is the number which is passing out. And if we print it out, we see that hello 99 is printing here, which is here. So here we can pass as many code as you want, which will gonna also work. And how we check if there is this is a block or not? We have a function called is block given. So we can try it out here. So on the first function, if you notice, this try nothing was given, so it will print no not given. If we do this, it will print hello world, which is this EL, because the is a block. However, this on, if we put this also a block, so whenever we put do and end, this become a block, and this is a single line of block. This thing we can write it multiple line also, and this will also work. And we can put multiple hello world here as well. So what is the difference between block and variable? So if we have a variable, this is a variable which we can define into data. 5 times is also a method of this 5, and this do of this is a block. So what does it mean by this is times is one of a block inside this 5, which is a object. And what does it accept is it accept as a block which is gonna execute everything what we pass of the 5 times. So this will execute everything into 5 times. So this is how it works, and this is outside of block X. And let's see, so this is also some of the times block which also give some variable. So let's execute this one. This one is bit interesting. So if we execute this, we can see here it print out this X value, and which is assigned to this Y, and every time it goes to X inside is 0 1 2 3 4, and then end of the day the X value remain at 10. So this X and this X has no reference. So block parameters will be isolated from the main thread. I hope so far this will be useful. In the next video onwards, we're gonna see some of the array topic and other concepts. See you on the next time, and do subscribe if this is useful. Thank you and see you.